Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Facts and Realities of Education. Today, we'll be talking about the registration of the 2019 session of the General Certificate of Education Examination. In the studios with me, we have the Chief of Center who is involved with the registration of this examination that will be telling us about what is happening with the registration, with this year's registration. As we understand, this year's registration has not been what it used to be. Normally, G.C.E registration normally ends in around the month of December or late December. But this year we are already in January and the registration is just about beginning. We would have the Chief of Center of CBC, Bepanda Douala, who is here with us, Mr. Ngwane Basil. Good evening and welcome to our studios.
Good evening, Mr. Venetius.
Thank you so much. We are talking about the registration of the 2019 session of G.C.E examination. Has the registration started?
Officially, the registration have started, owing to the fact that the G.C.E board, the registrar of the G.C.E board sent out a communique to all chief of centers announcing the start of the G.C.E registration for 2019. And immediately we resumed classes for second term 2 days ago. We realized that the information and all the materials for G.C.E registration were already available in all the centers.
Yes. So, in effect, registration started on the 7th of January 2019. Is that what we are saying?
Registration started in late December before we could go on a Christmas break.
Okay.
But officially, we know it to have started on the 7th of January.
Okay, currently. Is it effectively going? Are you people registering students already?
We are already registering students, but before we get into that, I want to first of all plead with the G.C.E board that if such innovations are coming on, they should be able to communicate. Because lack of communication, first of all, brings ambiguity, and rumor mongers use that to circulate false information either on the social media or on any other medium of communication.
Actually, you are talking about false information. A lot of parents as well as candidates, were already discouraged as to what is happening. Call it discouraged and at the same time confused as to what is happening with the registration of the General Certificate of Education. If you were to talk to these parents like a chief of center, what would you tell them?
I just want to use this medium in my little way to reassure parents that the G.C.E registration have started and that the G.C.E 2019 will be written under normal conditions just like any other G.C.E.
Okay.
We, on behalf of the registrar of the G.C.E board, I apologize for the late start, but the late start doesn't mean that it will not take place. Better late than never.
Better late than never. Okay, let's get into registering the examination actually. You know, with the delay and all whatnot, there are a lot of information that we have. What are the requirements? What is needed to carry out this registration?
As we have already assured the parents, please, parents should make sure that they provide their children with these necessary documents. For G.C.E O levels, it is just the birth certificate, a photocopy of the birth certificate, not certified, please.
Okay.
Just a simple photocopy of the birth certificate that is required for a candidate. And only candidates who are taking in exams as external candidates are required to come in with the national identity card.
Okay.
And for G.C.E A levels, we require candidates to come in with first their O-level result slips.
Okay.
Their photocopy of their O-level result slips, photocopy of their birth certificate, and if they are external candidates, they should add the photocopy of their national identity card.
Okay, we're talking about this national identity card, and we are dealing with students, and we know the age at which students are schooling this time is a problem. Most students who are writing exams this year, or who have been attempting these exams, some are underage to have national identity card. And would that be a problem? Is there anything wrong with it?
I think for now there is nothing wrong because the government has put everything in place to ensure that those students cannot be stopped from writing their exams because they are underaged. I have seen where a student at 15 have national ID card because they know that they want to go in for an official exams, and they are not in the place of taking the exams as internal candidates. Here we are talking mostly of those students who are attending the evening schools who are not privileged to have the money to attend a day school. And since education is for everybody, we cannot deprive them from that.
Okay, now let us look at another issue. We have talking about the documents needed. What about the fee? Money.
The registration fee remains the same, just like the previous editions. The registration fees for O levels is 8,000 francs that each candidate must first of all pay. Then you have the subject fee. Per subject O level is 1,000 francs, and we have some few practical subjects at the O levels. All those practical subjects are 5,000 francs per subject. So if your child want to register the GCE, you first of all pay 8,000 francs, add the number of multiply the number of subjects by 1,000 francs, plus if the child is taking practicals, you multiply the number of subjects per practical fee. And you also have the franking. Parents should not forget the franking, because we need to also chip in something to the state coffers.
What is this something if we're talking about franking?
Franking is 1,000 francs. And you have the rest are managed by the chief of center.
So there are some fees that are added to this amount. You spoke about the registration fee, the subject fee, the practical fee for those who are going in, the franking fee. Is there any other amount?
There is no other amount as per se, but what is our worry this year is the fact that we are supposed to pay in the money in the G.C.E in the G.C.E board account through the mobile money operation, that is the MTN. And we know that all operations carried out with the MTN through mobile money has charges. We have not yet. In our center, we have just installed the software. And no candidates have come up as yet to come and register. So we don't know how that will be. So we are presuming that since all MTM services go with charges, we hope that parents will pay some charges.
So it means parents should prepare such at least have
such eventuality.
In case it comes up, you will not be embarrassed.
Okay.
But then we hope that the students should not take this as another means of trying to squeeze out some money from their parents. Now, Mr. Ngwane, we've spoken about the fees. Let's look at what are the innovations. In other words, what goes about, how do we go about registering this examination? Because the way things are going out, we need to outline everything for the benefit of our viewers, candidates, as well as parents.
The innovations, when we talk of innovations, we are just talking about the registration procedure. But the registration procedure has varied this year. That is why I very much welcome the word you use, innovations, because there are some innovations in the registration. I will not go into what used to take, but I will just dive into what is. The GC registration this year, as the parent or the candidate, normally no parent comes to register the child. We shall mostly be using the word candidate, not students.
At this point they are candidates.
We are not talking about students here, we are talking about candidates. So any candidate who want to go in for the GCE registration, you come in person, and while coming to register, please, we use this also to tell candidates that don't come with a red top. Because the background of the picture is red. And it will not welcome red or pink top. So while coming, you come in person, and the chief of center starts first by taking snapshots of the candidates.
Are these snapshots paid?
They are paid.
What is the amount? We're talking about facts and realities here, because parents need to know.
The snapshots are paid 1,000 francs to the chief of center. Then we have after taking that, He collects the document from the candidate, as we have already specified the documents that are required for the different levels. After collecting the documents and sees that the documents are okay, he gives the candidate a G.C.E registration form, which carries all the information. The candidate fills that information form and comes back with it. As you come back with it, the only information that you don't fill is the candidate identification number, because it is the software that produces the candidate identification number. But the other information you are already given by the chief of center, how you are supposed to go about them. And immediately after this registration form has been filled, we, together with the other accompanying documents, we file them for that candidate. And we proceed immediately into registering the candidate. This year, unlike the previous year, there is what we call pre-registration entry. That pre-registration entry is just to collect the data. This data includes the name, the date of birth, the place of birth, the region of origin, the telephone number of the candidate, the subject that the candidate is going in for, and the photograph of the candidate, which was already inserted in through the software. And after that it has been done, the chief of center goes ahead to produce a pre-registration receipt. That pre-registration receipt doesn't validate that you have registered, because at this time you have not yet paid the registration fee. With that pre-registration receipt, you have the total fee that that the candidate is supposed to pay on that pre-registration receipt, the center number, the candidate number, the center name, and all the other information is coming out of it. And with that information now, you go to the mobile service provider, the MTN, which will use their software, which will use their mobile money to register the candidate, so that the candidate can pay in the required sum, which is found on the pre-registration receipt. And when you get to the mobile service provider, they will type *126*007. It will open for them to go in for exams. As it opens for exams, you choose exams, and there are other options there. You choose exams. After choosing exam, the number that corresponds to exam, they will tell you G.C.E 1 and other exams 2. You choose one, which is G.C.E. As you choose one, which is G.C.E, they will require you to enter the center number. The center number is found on your pre-registration form. You enter the center number, and after entering the center number, they will require you to give your candidate identification number. That is where now the candidate cannot just go to the MTM to say that he wants to register when he has not first of all passed through the registration center. Because if you go, when they will ask you to bring the candidate identification number, you will not have it. And there, the registration cannot be continued. And you cannot invent this candidate identification number, which is a 10-digit number. You cannot invent it. It must
be generated by the
software. So the parents should be very much aware of that. And the mobile money provider or operator now will go ahead to insert those 10 digits number into their mobile money, and they will give you the center number, the center name, and after that now, you proceed now. The person who is doing the operation will proceed now by putting in the amount that is found on your receipt, pre-registration receipt. As he validates it, according to the G.C.E board, they are supposed to produce a receipt.
The service
provider is supposed to produce you a receipt that you now take back to the chief of the registration center where you registered. And the chief
where you started the registration.
And then now the chief of center now will proceed To validate your entry now, there is a command in the software that talks of validation. You click on that validation command, and another page will open where they will require you now to enter the information that is on the registration, on the receipt that was given by the mobile service provider. That in that receipt, they will ask you the transaction number.
Yes.
The transaction number, the amount that you were required to pay is already in the machine. What have you paid? The amount you were required to pay must be exactly the amount you have paid. If you don't pay up to that amount, your registration is not validated.
Okay.
But if you pay that amount, your registration is validated.
Yes.
Immediately your registration is validated. There is a command where you print the receipt, not this time not the receipt, but the timetable for the candidate, individual timetable for the candidate.
Yes.
I'm most precise here that individual timetable cannot be printed if the validation of the transaction with the MTM is not there. So parents should be very watchful. A child who is stubborn may come and take the money and come and present you the pre-registration receipt to tell you that he has registered, whereas he has not registered. The child should be able to bring to you a timetable stating which subject and which paper he is
which day
he is supposed to write and which time he's supposed to write.
So
that when they give the pre-registration receipt, on the pre-registration receipt, no subjects are entered. Only the candidate vital information, the date of birth, the place of birth, the telephone number is coming out of that receipt. But on the individual timetable, the subjects that the candidate went in for are first of all listed. The total amount that the candidate paid comes out, and then the timetable, that is the schedule of writing, how that a particular candidate will be writing, is also on that second receipt.
So if we are to tell parents, is for a parent to consider the child having registered is when the child comes back home with an individual timetable. Because an individual timetable is proof of the fact that
the child has
gone through the pre-registration stage, deposited the money through mobile money, and has gone back for the second phase of the registration. When you were saying there was this idea of amount, and I understood that when we talk about amount, most children now, they are wayward in such a way that a lot of us parents, we may tend to doubt their behavior, and we will tend to find out the amount that you are paying at the MTN. Does it contain the franking amount and photograph amount?
No. The franking amount and the photograph amount is collected by the chief of center, because the chief of center does the franking. But the parent who wants to do it, you can still go and do the franking yourself if you think that it will not be time consuming. But for convenience purpose and to let our students also have enough time to study, we collect it and we do the franking for them.
So when you were speaking, there was something to that came to my mind that I wanted us to look at it. The mobile money transfer agency. Is it only MTN, or you can pay in any other mobile money?
Only MTN.
So they are allowed to only at the MTN mobile money center. And we are insisting that that will be able to produce a receipt. You don't just go in any kiosk along the road.
Yes, and that is where the problem lies, because some of the mobile mobile money service provider that we have contacted, they have told us that they don't have receipts.
But should they tell you where they are? Is it to go to the MTN itself?
That is what we are yet to find out. We have not yet gone to MTN itself. But we are trying to see what it can take. Because if those difficulties are, if we have those challenges for those in cities like Douala, what do you expect of rural areas? And we know very well that a good number of those students are in the rural communities.
Of course. All right. We hope that as the registration unfolds, Mr. Ngwane, will be begging you that please, if you would be available to let us help our parents and our candidates, we will keep updating them as to what is happening in our subsequent editions of Facts and Realities of Education. But then, let's look at the challenges. You those of you who are involved in this registration process, what are the challenges that chief of centers are going through, especially with this new format of registration?
The first challenge is that there will be a lot of paperwork that we will have to carry out in our offices, printing, photocopying, and all whatnot, which the G.C.E board, we don't know who pays for that. Because the G.C.E board, as at now, has not given us any information on who pays on all those services. The second challenge that we are having is the fact that the procedure has changed, and it is a bit for us to adapt to the old system is a problem to us. But since we are in a society that is constantly changing, we know that we shall move ahead with the changing times.
Actually.
And we are hoping that we shall do our job as best, as to the best of our abilities and knowledge.
Yes. So, but if I understand, it means registration this time now is doubled.
It's doubled.
Yes.
I can say even it has 3 phases. The first phase, the pre-registration phase, the payment phase, and the third phase, the printing of the timetable. And here also I want to note to parents that if a child brings up a timetable, because in the pre-registration, the chief of centers don't sign the pre-registration receipt.
Okay.
The chief of center only signs the individual timetable. So if a child brings to you a pre-registration receipt that has not been signed, that is not
the registration has not yet been effected.
The registration have not yet been effected.
Okay.
But if a child brings to you a timetable that has been signed by the chief of center,
yes,
the chief of center, if he says tomorrow that registration was not done, the chief of center, he should be answerable to it.
Yes, because his signature and the stamp.
And the stamp is there.
Okay. All right, but we want to find out what about parents who would have to be, would they be that patient enough to go through all this? Is it not time consuming?
It can never be time consuming because we are working for our children.
Okay.
And if we cannot give our children or follow up our children, then there is no need for us to say that we are educating them.
Okay.
I think following up all these things for a good parent doesn't take you up to 10 minutes when you come back home in the evening. Okay. If you are used to checking your children's performance or other things that they have been doing in school, immediately the day you give that child the money to go and register, you find out.
Okay. Mr. Ngwenu, now time is almost cutting us short, but I want to find out from you, among your circles as chiefs of centers, do you liaise with each other to make sure that where there is lapses here, because we will not understand, we should not pretend that all chief of centers would have a mastery of this registration process. Do you liaise among yourselves, chief of centers, to make sure that if this one doesn't understand, you can help him, can call him, please, what can I do here? Do you have that communication among you?
I think that is very, very important because nobody is a warehouse of knowledge.
Okay. Yeah.
I may know some few things now,
actually,
which I've explained to you.
Yes.
But some may escape my memory.
Really.
And I need to find out from my colleagues
yes,
what they are doing.
Okay.
And that is what we have been doing.
Okay.
Ever since registration started 2 days ago, I think I've received numerous calls.
Yes.
And I have also made numerous calls
really
to find out
yes,
how we are going to go about it.
Okay.
And we are trying to concert so that what is done in Center A should be done in Center B,
okay,
so that we facilitate our students and our parents, give our parents the ease at which they will do this registration.
Okay, registration ends when?
Registration ends on the 28th of February, according to the G.C.E board, if no extensions are done.
Okay.
We are also only wishing that parents should comply within this period because we are already late.
Okay. Mr. Ngwenu, thank you so much for making time to be part of us in this edition of the program. But we will still insist that we would want to solicit that if within this period, please, you should give us a helping hand to make sure that we update the parent as much as possible with information that concerns this registration of G.C.E. Ladies and gentlemen, time is against us. We have come to the end of this edition of the program. That we wish to remind our viewers and candidates that, like he said, they should be calm and go about the registration as usual. Although there are challenges, he said they are up to the task. Thank you so much, Mr. Ngwenu. Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. That is all we had time for this evening. Goodbye. Goodbye, sir.
Thank you, sir.